At 16 you've never seen a review like this. Weird old games you cannot tame, this world that you miss. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit.
Hello, my name is SNES Man. Let's talk about the Star Wars series on the Super Nintendo. There were 3 of these games based on the classic movies, and so I thought, which one should I do? Then I decided I'm going to review all of them in a trilogy review. Let's start with the first one, Super Star Wars. Apparently back in the day, these games were a huge hit like Mario popularity. But let's see how well they hold up. Let's get down to gaming. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away where they still made competent movie-based games, was Star Wars. Does anyone even read this stuff? I think most kids who were playing this back in the day were more interested in the gameplay than these cutscenes, so let's skip this and get to some real action. We begin our adventure as the young Luke Skywalker, roaming around on his home desert planet and shooting random bugs and animals. Okay, admittedly Luke did nothing like this in the movie, but let's just take it in stride. The game kicks off with a pretty good first impression. It's fun to shoot the blaster in all directions like in Contra, and the controls are tight. Also, the enemies are interesting like giant scorpions, womp rats, and giant carnivorous worms. What, you don't remember carnivorous worms in the movies? They were all over the place. But anyway, back to level 1. As you progress, you can get gun upgrades like the flame gun or the seeker gun. All in all, there are 5 upgrades of guns, and that's really cool. They're all a little bit different. This makes it more fun to pulverize the things in your way. When you reach the end of the level, you'll fight the Sarlacc pit monster, a creature from one of the other movies, but still a good first boss battle. It's very intimidating and fun to fight. And once you finally kill it, you get the satisfaction of seeing it go down in flames, burning. And that's the end of level 1. As you keep playing, you realize this game's pretty interesting. There's some 3D levels that show their age, but are still fun to break up the monotony. And of course, many side-scrolling missions, many of which are big, sprawling, and kind of irritating. For instance, here's our second side-scrolling level, the Sand Crawler. This is a giant vehicle that you have to scale to get to the end. And if you miss one platform, you tumble down and have to start the whole thing over. No! And of course, when you're trying to make your way back up, all the enemies and cannons and stuff respawn. So, Star Wars definitely has its share of annoying moments. It can also be really repetitive. For instance, there's 2 speeder 3D levels, but they're both exactly the same. And many of the levels are poorly designed because they just repeat themselves over and over and over. It feels like the game developers were trying to stretch out what material they had to make it a longer game. And really, why do we have to blow up so many TIE fighters, kill so many Jawas, murder countless sand people, and keep jumping over the same platforms over and over until we go nuts? It's really freaking repetitive, that's my point. But this game does have lots of good aspects. Let's start with, say, the graphics. The graphics are an aspect that doesn't disappoint. The levels all look quite interesting and they follow the tone of the movies well. Not to mention, Luke's a well-animated character, especially once he gets the lightsaber. The lightsaber is a fun weapon to use in its short-range bliss, and that spinning jump attack he has is loads of fun. It's a really fun move to use, and in general, the lightsaber is an awesome weapon. Slash your enemies to death! Yes, it's a lot of fun to pulverize all your enemies from the Star Wars universe. And of all the enemies, of course the toughest ones to fight are the bosses. How terrifying! The bosses are all big, detailed creatures that storm you with attacks. They all have long health bars and sometimes are hard to kill. like this monster in Mos Eisley that never seems to die, and this monster in the Sandcrawler that can kill you instantly if you fall in the lava. And what the heck is a lava beast Jawenko? Oh well, it's still a kinda cool looking monster. In fact, all the bosses look pretty cool. They're well animated, big sprites, and they're pretty awesome. But yes, they're still really hard. Just like the rest of this game, it's pretty dang tough. The reason why is not just because of difficulty, it's because you have a set number of lives and continues, and if you run out, you're screwed. No passwords, no nothing. Except the Secret Lives Cave. On one of the sand levels, if you jump off a ledge, you'll find a cave with endless extra lives. This will save you in the adventure, and you'll have a chance of winning. Hey, it's not cheating if it's in the level. Consider this the infinite continues the game should have given you. It makes the game a lot more playable and easy to beat. That was a relief to me because there's so many levels to crawl through that you really need those lives. Especially when things get cheap and frustrating and you're running out of them. Without these extra lives, many newcomers wouldn't have been able to even get to the last half of the game. And that's about the point when you get new playable characters. There's Han Solo the Brave and Chewbacca the Bumbling. These characters pretty much play the same as Luke, except for they have stronger firepower and they don't have lightsabers. But, honestly, how could you not want to play as a Wookiee with a gun? Luckily, all the characters control really well. Jumping and shooting is very tight and action-packed. Pressing B forward does a helpful slide, which can dodge enemies or in some cases go through narrow areas. So Super Star Wars has good controls and pretty good graphics, but another really good feature of it is that it actually follows the Star Wars movie fairly well. Yes, there are lots of parts with stupid inaccuracies, but there's also a lot of moments that really reflect the spirit of the movies. For instance, the music all has perfect renditions of the film's score. And the cutscenes tell the story really well. And some scenes really reflect the intensity of this great movie it was based on. And for the most part, it's trying really hard to be faithful to the Star Wars series.
Things to make it better.
Remove rehashed levels, make more interesting level design on the tedious stages, a more gradual raise in difficulty, more plentiful weapon upgrades later on in the game, and finally a password mode like all the other Star Wars games had. So in conclusion, Super Star Wars is a pretty good movie-based game, but with its share of obvious flaws. It scores a 6 out of 10. Super Star Wars is a pretty fun game, but it has major flaws. It would have been a lot better with a password mode and less repetitive levels. But the Star Wars series does not stop here. There are also Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Super Return of the Jedi. Both games, in my opinion, are quite a step up from this, and I'm going to tell you about them one at a time. My next review will be Empire Strikes Back. I'll see you all then. Until then, this is SNES Man, and I'll talk to you again sometime soon.